Good morning. In today's class, we're just going to be doing a lot of great stretching from head to toe. So if you are kind of stiff in the body, so depending on your body, depending on really the time of day that you're doing this as well, if you're doing this first thing in the morning, you might be extra stiff. So you might like to pause the video and do a few sun salutations to really get warmed up and loosened up. We'll do a little bit of loosening the body up, but not much. So feel free to stop and do some sun salutations if you need to get warm first. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and get started, and we're just going to sit. You will need 2 blocks for this, well, 1 or 2 blocks for this class. We'll use those at the end. We're just going to start with some breath. So sit down. You could sit on a block or a pillow if you'd like, but you want to sit up nice and tall. Through the spine, root yourself down through your sit bones. Start to tune into that breath. Taking this moment to come into the present moment and to let go of any thoughts, anything you might have brought with you on your mat. This is a short practice, so stay in the present moment. It's only about 25 minutes long. You can give yourself 25 minutes of mindfulness, mindful breathing, mindful movement. You can blink your eyes open. And on that next inhale, let's circle sweep up the arms. Really reach the arms back as you're bringing them up. Look up, stretch up, lift that chest, and then exhale, hands through heart center. We're going to do that 2 more times. Nice and slow with the breath. Inhale, really gathering up the energy, and exhale, bring it to heart center. 1 more time. Big inhale, big circle with the arms. You can bring your hands to your knees, or for a little more stretch here with our neck, you could bring the fingertips off to the side of your mat. And we're just going to bring the right ear over to the right shoulder. Sitting up tall through the spine still, so lift that chest, root down through your sit bones and engage your bandhas to hold you here so you can relax those hip flexors a little here. Bring your chin towards your chest. Take a deep breath there. And then on over, left ear to the left shoulder. Couple breaths. Bring the chin back to the chest and take a breath. And then we'll come over to the right side again for a couple of breaths. Here you can sort of experiment with how high you lift the chin. Maybe you want to bring the chin up. Maybe you want to bring the chin down as you're over on that right side. It'll give you a different stretch. You see where you'd like to be. Maybe you'd like to just go back and forth while you keep your right ear over to the right shoulder. And then we'll bring chin back to the chest. 1 breath here. And then left side. Again, lifting the chin up or bringing the chin down, or maybe forth here with the 2. Keep your shoulders slid down the back and keep those hip flexors relaxed as much as you can. Remember to root yourself down and find that bandha engagement. Pelvic floor, our Mula bandha, and Uddiyana bandha, the low belly. We'll drop the chin back to the chest. Good. Next inhale, reach the arms up again, look up, and then exhale into a twist to the right. Right hand will be behind you for some support to help you sit up tall. Don't lean back, don't round forward. Open the chest, broaden the collarbones, roll the shoulders back. And then inhale back to center. Reaching up, and then exhale, twist to the left. You can also use your right hand on the left knee for support here in the twist, a little traction to help you twist. And in a twist, it's very important still with the bandhas. Engage the bandhas. And we'll inhale back to center, really reaching up with the arms through the sides of the torso, and then exhale, bring yourself back into child's pose. Big toes touching, knees come out wide, and we bring our forehead down to the mat. So get there any way you need to. If that means lifting your hips up away from the heels, that's fine. If your hips are away from your heels, then once you get your forehead down, reach those arms long and then put some pressure into the palms. So the only thing touching here is the palms of the hands. We don't have wrists or forearms down. We're reaching the arms long and pressing into the palms to try to sink the hips a little lower. See if you can't lengthen the spine a little more. We'll take a nice big inhale, stretch, reach. And then on the exhale, let's thread the needle. Right arm goes across the chest under the left arm. And then bring that left shoulder down, because most likely you lift it a little bit in order to thread the needle. So then mindfully bring that left shoulder down and square up your chest and shoulders to your mat so that you're getting a really nice stretch in your right shoulder and in that right upper arm. One more inhale, reach those arms long. Then exhale, bring the right arm back out in front of you. Stay here for an inhale, lengthen a little more. And then on your exhale, we'll thread the needle on the other side. And then pay attention to that right shoulder, bring it down, square up the chest and shoulders to your mat. And that left palm can be facing up, facing down. Your forehead can be to the mat, your left temple can be on the mat. You kind of decide what feels good to you, where you still get a nice stretch there in the left shoulder and upper arm. We'll take one more inhale to reach those arms long. And then on your exhale, bring the left arm back out. And one more inhale. And then you're going to exhale, bring yourself up to tabletop, and we'll work cat-cows, loosening up that spine. So make sure that your joints are stacked here, little outward rotation with the hands, and those fingers are spread wide. Inhale, drop your belly, tilt the pelvis forward, reaching the tailbone up, pull the chest forward, look up. Exhale, pull the belly button back towards the spine, push into your hands and knees, and arch the spine, tuck the chin, look towards your belly. Inhale. And exhale. Moving nice and slow with that nice slow breath. We want to maintain that breath throughout. You want to initiate the movement from the belly button each time and have your gaze be the very last thing to move. One more round. And then we'll come back with a neutral spine. We're going to come into puppy dog. So keep your hips stacked over your knees. Hips stay high here, coming down, forehead to the mat, maybe even chin to the mat. If you'd like, reach those arms long. So just a variation here on child's pose. To keep the hips lifted, we get a bigger stretch in through the chest, the shoulders, the upper back. For the last few breaths here, if you'd like, you could bend your elbows, bring your hands together in prayer behind the head, And then energetically pull back on the elbows. Feel the stretch in the triceps. Go ahead and release the hands back to the ground if you had them in prayer behind the head, and work your way back up into tabletop. Then tuck your toes, lift your hips, and come into downward dog. Once you're there, pedal out your heels. Work into the backs of the legs. I like to take some hops, little hops with the heels. And then even come up onto the toes and bend the knees, stretch the bottoms of the feet. You can sway the hips side to side. And then let's settle into a more intentional downward dog here. Make sure your fingers are spread wide and pressing each knuckle into the mat still. Feet are hip width apart, toes pointed straight ahead. And it's okay if the heels aren't on the ground. We're going to inhale the right leg straight up for three-legged dog. In three-legged dog, our hips stay squared to the mat, and you should feel a big, big stretch in your left leg, in the hamstring. Now we're going to exhale, bring that hip on top of the left. And so you're bending the right leg. You're reaching that right foot for the left shoulder. But we want to try to keep equal weight in both hands. So press more into that right hand. Most likely the weight shifted a bit. And then we'll inhale back to our three-legged dog, squaring up the hips. And exhale, bring that foot down to the mat. Inhale the left leg up. Three-legged dog. Take a breath here, working that right hamstring. And then we'll bend the left leg now, stack the hip. You're really trying to roll that left hip back. Pay attention to the weight in the hands. Try to keep that right knee pointed straight ahead. And then inhale back into your three-legged dog and exhale, release that foot to the mat. Pedal out the heels a little bit here. Inhale the right leg up high. Exhale, bring that knee in close to the chest, as close as possible, and then step that foot forward. You can give it some help with your hand if you need to. We're going to drop the back knee and come up into a runner's lunge here. So you can keep your hands on your knee for support. And I want you to keep the tailbone tucked slightly as you shift the hips forward. You should feel a big stretch in the front of your left hip. Take a couple breaths here first, and also pay attention to the left toes. Make sure they're pointed straight back. We tend to sickle that foot a little whenever we have it behind us. I don't know if it feels a little more stable, I guess, but you'll feel a better stretch if you have those toes pointed straight back. So after you take a few breaths there, you might want to come down lower into it where you have hands on the mat, or maybe even using your block here, coming down a little lower. But don't lose that stretch. So sometimes, I know for me, it feels better to stay up and keep the tailbone tucked as I press the hips forward than it does to come down here. I can come down very low, but I kind of lose that stretch in the hip flexors. So I want to keep that stretch going. Now we'll come into a twist with it. So you can bring your left hand down to your block or the ground and look over the right shoulder. And your right hand is on the right knee for support and traction here to help with the twist. And then we'll come back to downward dog. Feel free to pedal out the heels again and just observe the difference in how the left hip feels now compared to that right hip. Let's inhale the left leg up high, and then on your exhale, bring that knee in as close to your chest as you can and step that foot forward or walk it forward. And then drop the back knee and we'll come up for our runner's lunge. So I want you to come upright first. Tuck the tailbone slightly as you Engage the belly and come forward with the hips. And then pay attention to those back toes. You want to make sure you have your right knee and your left foot are hip width distance on the mat. So looking straight on to you, you have your knee and your foot on different sides of your mat. And we're not trying to do this here like we're on a tightrope. And then if you'd like, you can come down to hands or even elbows or block. Just make sure you don't lose that stretch. We'll take a couple more deep breaths before our twist. Go ahead and bring the right hand down, left hand to that knee, look over the left shoulder, come into your twist. Go ahead and come back center. Plant both hands, tuck the back toes, back to your downward dog. Inhale, right leg up high again, and then exhale, bring it through, plant it at the top of the mat, and then drop the back knee. We'll come up, hands to heart center here. Pull your belly in, inhale, lift and lengthen, and then exhale, turn to the right and begin to bend then to hook the elbow on the outside of the knee. If it's difficult to get there, you can stay upright. You can just bring your left hand to the outside of that right leg and your right hand to your hip and keep the spine nice and long, chest lifted and open, just like when we did a seated twist. And then we'll come back center, plant the hands, and back to downward dog here. Inhale your left leg up. Exhale, let's bring it through, step forward. Come up, setting up here, hands to heart center. Inhale, lift, lengthen. Start turning towards the left side of the room now. Try to keep the spine very long and chest lifted as you just hinge forward to hook the elbow, or take that modification if you did on the other side. Go ahead and inhale back to center. Exhale, plant your hands and step it back into downward dog. We're going to shift forward to plank. You can take this from your knees if you need to, and we're just going to lower down slowly all the way to our belly. And then bring your right arm out. We're going to stretch the front of the arm. So right arm out. The closer it is to the front of your mat, the more intense the stretch will be. The further back towards your feet, then the less intense the stretch will be. And you can find somewhere in between. Left hand under that shoulder and just start to push into it to roll yourself over. And then you can adjust your arm from there before you come all the way over. You can keep the left foot on the ground behind you, or maybe you'd like to extend that leg. It just gives you a little more weight in the low body to pull you over a little more, so you'll feel more of a stretch. And just keep your head relaxed on the mat. Keep breathing deeply. And then we will come back to our belly, extending the left arm now and pushing into the right hand to roll over. Whatever you did on the other side with the foot, maybe extending the leg. And let's go ahead and come back to our belly. We're going to do a little spinal strengthening here. We'll do a set of Cobra. So chin to the mat. Your hands are going to be at push-up position, a little closer to your rib cage perhaps, maybe even down towards your waist. It depends on how far up you get. So you want to zipper up your legs and press the tops of the feet into the mat. Engage the quads so that the kneecaps lift. Press your hip bones down. Exhale. And then inhale, peel your chest up. So now from here you can see how high you're coming. If you're not very high, then it's okay to have those hands a little further forward. If you're coming up pretty high, try to work those hands back towards the waist more. Everybody pinch the elbows towards one another, really stretching through the chest and shoulders, opening the chest, looking up, last breath. And release. You can bring your right ear to the mat, arms to your side, relax. Now we'll bring our arms out like airplane wings. Go ahead and separate the feet hip width apart for this. Do a little modification. Exhale, inhale, lift. Lifting everything up, trying to get the heels in line with the shoulders. So lift and release, left ear to the mat. And then we'll come back, chin to the mat, bend your knees, reach back. For the outside of your feet, we're going to take a floor bow here. Exhale, inhale, kick. So just keep in mind that we have not done a full class. This usually is a big back bend that comes towards the end of class, so maybe this isn't your deepest floor bow, and that's fine. Just do what you can. Feel that back working, and release. Press back into child's pose. One more breath here. And then work your way up to a seat. Extend your right leg out and bring your left foot in. We're going to keep the right leg straight. So find your lowest grip while still able to keep that leg straight. Maybe it's on the shin or the ankle. Maybe you can grab your foot. But then, once you have your grip, lengthen up from the tailbone, out the crown of the head, and then come down and just relax the head. Inhale up, and let's switch legs. So left leg extended now, find your lowest grip. And then inhale with the grip, lengthen. Exhale, reach that chest forward as you're coming down so that you're keeping the spine nice and long, and then relax the head when you can't go any further. And then we'll inhale, come back up. Bring both feet together for butterfly. So open the feet up like a book. It's going to help open the hips. Try to drop the knees a little lower towards the ground. Sit up nice and tall and hinge forward just as much as you can and relax the head. We'll take 3 breaths. And inhale to come back up. Take your blocks. We're going to end with a big chest opener. So you're going to take your blocks. If you have one block, I usually just use one block on the mid-level here. It's going to run along your spine lengthways. But if that's too intense on your neck, it's nice to put something under the head as well. So if you have one block, you could put the block along your spine and then use a pillow for your head if you need to. So come down into it. It's going to run pretty much the length of that thoracic spine. And then you can experiment with where you put your arms. So if you bring your arms out to a T, you're going to have a greater stretch along the chest and in that upper back. And just try to relax into it. So chances are you're probably holding a little bit of tension somewhere. Check in with the hips. Try to relax the hips. Relax the low back. So you don't want to hold yourself here by tensing in the low back and arching the low back. Just allow it to be. If it's too much, you can bring your arms to your side. And try to relax the head. Again, having some support under that head if you need it. You can stay here as long as you'd like, and then very carefully use your elbows to sit up to remove your block, and then take Shavasana. But don't rush it. The longer you stay in that supported chest opener, the more benefits you're going to get. It really releases so much tension in the upper body. So stay with it. Maybe try to get past that point of being a little uncomfortable and find where you sort of melt into it. And then take your Shavasana, obviously, again, as long as you'd like. Namaste.